Hello everyone. Welcome to another webinar promoted by SoftExpert. Today's event discusses about the Kanban method and its mindset. The webinar will be conducted by Mr. Todd Little, chairman at Kanban University. His areas of expertise are executive leadership, agile development, product and project management. I wish you all a great webinar.
So today I'm going to talk about discovering the Kanban mindset, a bit about how we approach Kanban within Kanban University. I'm the chairman of Kanban University and represent what Kanban University is our body that certifies training materials for Kanban, the Kanban method. We have a very rich curriculum. I'll get into that a little bit more as to what we have available and how we position Kanban. Just a little bit about me. As I say, I'm currently chairman of Kanban University. I've had executive roles, VP of Product Development, Director of Software and Technology with large organizations, Halliburton, Landmark Graphics Division of Halliburton, IHS, and now at Kanban University. I've also been on was a founder of the Agile Conference, the Agile Development Conference, along with Alistair Coburn back in 2003. I was on the board of directors of the Agile Alliance for 7 years, and also one of the founders and member of the board of directors for the Agile Leadership Network. I have a book that I've written with co-authors called Stand Back and Deliver about accelerating business agility. I've been involved in the Agile space for a while and definitely have experienced quite a bit and have always drifted towards the Kanban approach as the model of choice really for evolutionary change. So a little bit about Kanban University. Now, we used to be known as Lean Kanban University. We are now Kanban University. We felt like the Lean brand has sometimes it's been taken on to mean too many things. Everyone's putting Lean in front of it, and so we really wanted to focus on what we really emphasize Kanban. We've also the Kanban University is focused on the global network of trainers that deliver our materials. We also have the David J. Anderson School of Management, and the David J. Anderson School of Management is some training facilities that we have in Seattle and Bilbao, and where we deliver course, usually the advanced classes, such as the Kanban Maturity Model and the Kanban Coaching Professional and the Change Leadership Masterclass, along with a few others. So let's talk about Kanban in general. Why is Kanban something that really people should be knowing about? Well, one, we're seeing a lot of people are discovering Kanban. They're seeing that Kanban is something that they should be working with. This is something from the Scrum Master Trends, 2019 Scrum Master Trends from scrum.org. And in this case, 81% of the respondents are feeling like they're using or are thinking that they're using Kanban in addition to Scrum. This is a similar we see from a number of other different surveys. Scrum Alliance has a similar survey. It's been growing every year. In Scrum Alliance, it's been growing about 20% a year. And so it's a significant growth we're seeing in awareness of Kanban and the value that it adds. Now, a lot of these people that think they're using Scrum are using Kanban are probably just thinking that because they have a board in Jira or they've started using some stickies on a wall that they're using Kanban. And to some extent, they are using, they're starting to use Kanban. They're discovering some of the values of it. But most likely, they're not usually utilizing the full potential that is there in Kanban, and we'll get into that more. What we're starting to see as a result of the awareness and growth, we're starting to see significant growth in our training, and we've trained over 50,000 people in the Kanban method through the end of 2019. So we're continuing to see that growth, and that growth is global. North America and Europe have traditionally been quite strong, and now we're also seeing some substantial growth in Latin America. It's been a huge growth area for us. But why Kanban? What is it about Kanban that why are people interested in it? Well, what we're seeing is they're really business problems are still persisting even after people have made their started in on their agile transformations or wherever they're at in their agile journey. They still seem to be struggling with some of these five same areas: business agility, predictability, efficiency, scale, and then continuous improvement. And these are all areas that Kanban addresses quite well. There are things that we have in our overall Kanban toolkit that really work well at addressing many of these issues. So talking about the Kanban mindset, what are we really talking about here? And before we really get into that, we have to look at, well, what is Kanban in general? What a lot of people think Kanban is a bunch of stickies on a wall, or just a board, or maybe a board in Jira or Trello. And that's a piece of it. That's visual management, which is something we consider quite valuable, as visualizing is one of our core practices. But Kanban is much more than that. The Kanban method teaches organizations how to understand, visualize, and measure systems of work to continually improve and consistently deliver results. We provide a set of proven practices and approaches that scale from individuals and teams to the enterprise. I think that's a couple of misnomers or misconceptions in the industry, is that Kanban is really just a team thing. And no, we've been working at scale for quite some time, and we have a very, very robust approach to how we deal with scaling. How many people see Kanban? See it as something that's part of the overall, as an agile approach, and just sort of put into the, just like a Scrum or a SAFe. We see Kanban as being different than that. We see Kanban as really something that spreads beyond software, goes out into, and we've seen this in a number of organizations where once we have implemented and have Kanban operating within IT, we start seeing a lot of other parts of the organization reach out and say, we want some of that. And so we start to see it in marketing, we start to see it in HR, accounting, finance, lots of places. Any place that we're dealing with knowledge work, and knowledge work is fairly much the mode of many businesses these days, Kanban is applicable. It's not something that's, we also have some misconceptions that, oh, Scrum is for projects and Kanban is for operations. And I think that's a huge opportunity lost. Kanban works perfectly well in project mode. It's anything that you're operating in dealing with knowledge work, Kanban can be applicable. There's a lot of rich tools that we have available. Kanban can be the great unifier. We have the mantra of starting with where you are now. Whatever you're doing today, Kanban starts, and it's evolutionary change on top of that. So you could be in waterfall, you could be operating with SAFe, you could be having chaos, or you could be in Scrum or having a CMI implementation. In any event, we can come in with Kanban and start with what you do today, and start to work with it and improve it. And get you on your journey. And it's evolutionary change. It gets things under control with what you have, and then it starts optimizing and improving. And it doesn't have to be the same. It also, since it's different parts of an organization, maybe in different states of maturity, what works great about Kanban is an overall framework that you can utilize at all points in the organization, at all paces in your journey, and begin your journey through the evolutionary change. So how do we do that? What are some of the foundations of Kanban? Well, one place to start is the motivation for the Kanban method. What are the agendas? And this depends on sort of where the agendas are. Where are you in the organization, and what are your challenges? So at the individual level, the line level, one of the things that Kanban offers is relief from overburdening. People feel like there's just too much happening. Kanban provides a mechanism by which to balance that and make sure that we focus on the right things and get that relief from overburdening. It helps us produce better quality, take professional pride in work and customer satisfaction. So it's this sustainability agenda. The mid-level management Its focus is, is the in-between. It has up managing, so answering the hard questions with confidence. It has down managing, making difficult decisions with confidence. And has reliable, predictable, faster service delivery. And this is the service orientation agenda. And this service orientation agenda is really the focus of our Kanban management professional courses, the KMP 1 and KMP 2, which I'll be talking about later. This is really the place where we get people started and focus on that service orientation. And then at the higher senior level management, we want to make promises we can keep. We want to lead the business strategy and positioning. That's the survivability. How do we make sure that the business is survivable? And we have material to cover that as well. So as I say, the KMP is area really focused on that service orientation. And that service orientation, the key to this also is that is the focus of the management leaders, but then those management leaders are enabling the sustainability agenda as well by providing that relief from overburdening. So what are some of the elements of the Kanban method? There are change principles, there's the service delivery principles, and then there's the general practices, and then the core values. So let's start with the change management principles. As I said, it's to start with what you do now. We want to understand current processes as actually practiced. Not what you say you're doing, but what you actually do. This is the first step. We have approaches I'll get into, the static approach, which helps us understand what is currently being done. And when we respect existing roles, responsibilities, and job titles. One of the differences with Kanban, we're not a transformative approach. We're a much more evolutionary approach. So we start with what you do now. We start with the roles you have now, initially. Then over time, we may change that. But we're not coming in and creating brand new roles or renaming roles that exist today. We're starting what you do now. The next step was we gain agreement to pursue improvement through evolutionary change. And then lastly, in order for this to be successful, we encourage active leadership at all levels. So leadership at what we consider traditional leadership levels, but also individuals taking leadership acts. So all levels of leadership. This is an example of acts of leadership, evolutionary change in action. We have people saying, I'm stuck, I'm too busy, I'm idle. And then someone said, let's do something about it. So what are those acts of leadership? Well, certainly the let's do something about it, and someone saying, let's take some action. But even the individuals coming up with their the transparency of admitting they're stuck or they're too busy or they're idle is acts of leadership as well. That information is there in order to make the change possible. Let's do something about it. So what does it take to make evolutionary change? There's a formula for evolutionary change. There's a stressor, and there's a reflection mechanism, and then leadership. And that's the approach that we have in, let's figure out what's wrong with the system. That's the stressor. Let's look at it. Let's see what we can do about it, and then take leadership action to actually close the gap. Traditional change approaches are often an A to B process. We start with the current process, and we say, oh, we've got something that's broken. Let's come up with a future process. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And it's a big bang transformation. Companies seem to love transformations. I've been in organizations that have 4 or 5 transformations happening at the same time. They just love this concept of transformation. Yet nearly all of them seem to struggle. And if we look at it in terms of this big bang A to B, define the future and make that transformation, it's to a large extent effectively a waterfall approach to an agile transformation, and that's just seems like it's doomed to failure. As we know, waterfalls are often doomed because we really don't know where we want to get to. We're trying to define the future in advance when we don't necessarily know what it really needs to be. What change really feels like is its J curve. We decide we at some level of performance, we make a change, but in fact, performance will go down temporarily before it has time to really take charge and improve to get to the next level. And if we make big bang changes, we have this safety we may hit our performance may go down, which puts us at risk of safety. And there's also patience. How long does it take before we're back and making improvement? And many organizations struggle with this because they don't expect the change to have this downturn, and they expect results to be almost immediately. Evolutionary change works differently. In evolutionary change, we start with the initial process, we evaluate the fitness of that, and we design experiments to say, how can we improve that? And we make small evolutionary changes. And we continue this process, improving, but we may end up rolling back because what we thought might have worked turns out to not work. We already had things working better in the past. We might roll forward, come up with something new, some new designs, and eventually the future process is emergent. It's not designed in advance. These are the evolving processes. The Kanban method, we talk about being like water. Water flows around the rocks. Be like water. The rock is resistance in the organization. So we don't try to blow the rock out of the way. We go around the rock. Our first approach is always to go around the rock. Now, there may be times where moving the rock out of the way is actually the long-term result or long-term desired state. But our first step is almost always to work around the resistance. And that's a big element of our training, is how to deal with that resistance, how to make evolutionary change happen in your organization. And the point here is that we make many small J-curves so that we can evolve the system to where we want it to get to, rather than try to design it up front. So the Kanban method, what are some of the things that we do want to make clear about the Kanban method? The Kanban method is a management method for improving service delivery. It's for catalyzing improvements, and it's for evolving a business to be fit for purpose. What the Kanban method is not, it's not a project management method, although it can be used within a project management approach. It's not a software development lifecycle, although it can be used within a software development lifecycle. And it's not the case that Kanban is for ops and Scrum is for projects. Kanban's an improvement process. It can be used, and it's not even a Kanban versus Scrum. Kanban can be used along with Scrum and very effectively, and it's an improvement mechanism that helps your Scrum get better. Now, eventually, if you continue to use the Kanban approach, you may start breaking things that some people within the Scrum world would say, well, that's absolutely required. But the whole point about Kanban is it's to try to improve continuously. And so when you continuously improve, you might come out of some of the approaches. So moving on, we have service delivery principles. We view your organization as a network of independent services with policies that determine the behavior. And so what we're trying to do then is understand and focus on the customer's needs and expectations. So we're focused on understanding the needs they have and what services they are needing. What are the services they need? So that's the service delivery principle. Once you understand that, we focus on managing the work and letting the workers self-organize around it. So we're managing the work, not the workers. And then we regularly review the network and its policies to improve outcomes. So what we're talking about service, what are we talking about? Suppose with service, we have a customer that has a need. So they request a product or service, and we generically refer to that as the service that they're requesting. That then has a delivery. There's someone who's going to actually deliver that service need. It's to respond to the need with a series of activities, and that series of activities we'll view as a collection of work steps that need to happen in order to deliver that service. And then eventually that service is delivered and the need is fulfilled and the customer accepts and acknowledges delivery. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about a service and a service delivery concept. So the Kanban Lens has us say, let's see work as flow. And flow is a very key element of Kanban. We try to figure out how can we keep work flowing through the system. That's the whole point of But I think with the visualization, we want to see how is it flowing through the system and how are we getting from the service request to the service delivery. And that's a workflow, and that workflow is a series of knowledge discovery steps. And so perhaps in the case of software development, it may be something like analyze it, develop it, and test it, and then user acceptance testing. Each one of these steps is discovering something new about knowledge that we're working on.
Just a moment. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Oops. So we see knowledge as work as a service. We see knowledge work as a service, and then we see organizations as networks of services, and that's the essence of the Kanban lens. So some of the general practices. There's 6 general practices in the Kanban method. First, we have the visualize. We want to show work in its flow and visualize the risks. We want to limit work in progress. We have a mantra of stop starting, stop finishing. Or stop starting, start finishing. We want to keep things moving through the system. We don't want to start things before we finish the things in the system. We want to manage flow. We want to see the movement of work going from request through to delivery. We make policies explicit. So we have agreed policies visible to everyone involved, and that helps people understand how things need to move through the system. Everyone's on board with it, make it transparent. Establish feedback loops, things such as our cadences. Our cadences are our meetings that we scale from at the team level up through to the organization level. We want feedback loops. The visualization itself is a feedback loop, and our metrics, the data that we collect, is a means of collecting feedback. And then we want to evolve collaboratively, or improve collaboratively and evolve experimentally. So using the scientific method, design experiments, and make our change, our continuous change in our approach. So if we look at this from a picture of visualizing of a system, and visualize being one of our key practices. So we visualize this as our system. We have ideas coming into a pipeline, into a funnel. That's our upstream portion of our system. And that's filtering out, eventually coming into the point where we make the commitments and we want to make the service delivery against that through our network of service deliveries. And eventually deliver on the overall service, deliver the prize. To visualize, our first step is to really understand the system. How is the system holding together? And with that, we utilize a tool called Static, the systems thinking approach to introducing Kanban. And what we're doing for each service is trying to understand for each service what makes it fit for purpose. Look at the sources of dissatisfaction today. How are we doing today with our current delivery? And with our current situation, what are the sources of nature of the demand for that service? What is our current delivery capability? And then with that, we want to model the service delivery workflow. What are the knowledge discovery steps that we go through in order to actually deliver against the service? Maybe identify and define some classes of service. Are there different levels of service delivery that we need to be considering? And then designing the Kanban system. Eventually socialize, design, and negotiate implementation. This is an iterative process that we go through as we discover, as we work with the system and design the Kanban board, design the Kanban system. So we design it, we understand the system, we then focus on flow. What can we do to make sure that flow is happening through the system? How do we make sure that we're balancing demand and capacity, which is part of our essence that we're doing in the static as well. We want to limit WIP so that we don't have too much work in progress, and that gives us predictability and gives us flow. And we emphasize how to remove bottlenecks in order to improve flow as well. We scale out through the cadences and how to connect these services together. We have feedback loops. We have incremental process improvement through measurements. We get measurements, lead time information, and that helps us understand our system better, helps us make some decisions about how to run our system. And then we also have learning back from the delivery. How do we improve that? How do we improve our products, or how do we improve our services based on feedback through the system? So this is an overall view of how some Kanban systems may work, what we're trying to get through it. I'd like to move on to the Kanban maturity model. This is something that's quite exciting for us. It's been out now. We've come out with David Anderson and Theodora Bosova came out with a Kanban maturity model book about 2 years ago, and now they've come out with a version. We have a beta program and had some very good success with that beta program. We've come out with a version 1.1 of the model, and there'll be a new book coming out as well, updating the work we've discovered in the last 2 years. The Kanban maturity model is a system where we've mapped over 150 specific Kanban practices to observable business outcomes using these 7 levels of organizational maturity, ranging from oblivious through team focus, customer driven, fit for purpose, risk hedge, market leader, and then built for survival. And many organizations are very comfortable at level 3, fit for purpose. What we actually discover when we go into most organizations are usually at level 0 or 1, and think, although they may think they're much higher than that, but there's so much more opportunity. And this is 2 of the reasons why we've come up with the Kanban maturity model, is it helps us eliminate 2 of the major failure modes we see in Kanban and Agile implementations. One is overreaching, where we try to go in and take on practices that are really beyond the maturity of the organization, and it fails because it reaches too far. The other one is a plateau, where we try some change, and the change is successful to some extent. It maybe potentially relieves overburdening, and the teams are all happy because they're no longer overburdened, but they leave a lot of opportunity on the table because there's so much more that they could get at much higher levels. And I'll go through some case studies showing some of the benefits that come from higher levels of maturity. So here we go with the case studies. This is the first one. Is really not a KMM case study, just a general. This is one that came out from Accenture in Brazil that I think is really quite impressive. Is that before they took the KMP1 class, you can see that they were very, very shallow, very, very low throughput. That's from the cumulative flow diagram there. You can see the slope of the purple line, which is how much have we actually delivered, is quite low before the class. And then after they've taken the KMP1 class, their throughput goes up substantially, potentially as much as 20 times. So these are the types of things that we see frequently from people that once they have taken the KMP class, they can actually make some substantial improvements in their productivity. This is the BBVA case study. So BBVA is a bank that's a global bank that's based in Spain, and this is working with their team in Bilbao in Spain. And we've got these 2 case studies here that I'm going to go through, the BBVA case study and the Vanguard case study. Those are available on the Kanban University website for free download if you are interested in that. But this is some summaries of it. At BBVA, we seek to improve continuously, focused on our values of customer first, think big, and we are a team. And therefore, we decided to look at how KMM could help us achieve our goal. After a few months, we have proof that it gives us a valid guidance on how to improve our level of customer service. So what they found is they could use the KMM as a good framework that would help them apply this across their organization. In one of their areas, the core data area, they developed the capability to manage based on data, not on perceptions. And this helps us foresee future needs and resolve blockages due to dependencies on other teams in a fast and simple manner. This is some of the results that they get from working with both Kanban and the Kanban maturity model. And the summary, in only 1 year, 2 of the programs had evolved from a team-focused management to service-oriented entities with deep understanding of the real capability and types of services they're delivering to their customer. So that really take them to that next level, from probably a level 1 to really getting towards a level 3. And then 3 more programs have evolved from team focus to flow-oriented management. The approach taken using the Kanban maturity model has proven to be repeatable. They've found that it works. It does have something there that they can use and they can apply. And sort of we look at it as a roadmap. It's a roadmap of practices that we know have historically provided the outcomes. And so what's different is the Kanban maturity model is not a conformance to practice model. It's looking at, are you getting the outcomes that are appropriate for your business? And if you're not getting those outcomes, then here's a collection of practices that we have witnessed over our 10 years working in this space that tend to give us those outcomes on a regular basis. The Vanguard case study, Kanban has helped Vanguard and FinTech operate in a lean model and accelerate delivered value more so than with using Scrum or traditional project management methods. Our teams are now starting less work before work in progress is finished, and the productivity and morale of each team has increased. This is from their head of project management, head of technology and project management. Basically what they had done is they had 240 agile teams, and they sampled about 10% of those. So they had about 24 teams that they were working with. And of the 24 teams in the set, all of which had started with Scrum, we said 40% voted with their feet and switched or were planning to switch with Kanban. And the related result was that the Kanban teams who recovered from the Scrum Stall that was exhibited flow metrics that outperformed all but one of the very best Scrum teams. So they got some very good results by bringing Kanban in, and teams are asking for Kanban coaching in 4 out of 5 new requests. So that it caught on. People, and we find this frequently where once people understand or get some of what get the essence of what we're doing, other teams find it and we want some of that, and so that's where we see the growth happening. At Vanguard, they have these perspectives of fast flow, where Kanban has richer, simpler, and effective metrics and forecasting tool that helps them understand their flow metrics and get them flowing faster. Fast feedback, the visual orientation enables end-to-end systems thinking, and the upstream flow receives a lot of attention this way, and we were able to do that at Vanguard. And in fast learning, Vanguard knows it must continue to evolve its nimble digital infrastructure. So the evolutionary approach of the Kanban method provides that part of that structure for the fast learning. We talk about Scrum Stall a bit. Scrum Stall, what they were finding is teams were they were working, they were getting some good results with their initial Scrum implementations, but they were stalling out, just like we were finding in some more motivation for the Kanban maturity model, as we said before. They hit a plateau and they don't really improve anymore. They just perform the same. What we found when we implemented Kanban at Vanguard was that system lead times improved by 78% in approximately 90 days. So this focus on understanding the model, understanding how to improve flow, was able to make substantial improvements and get much improved predictability. And much shorter system lead times. Here we said what we see in terms of performance relative to the maturity level, where they were seeing KMM levels of 1 to 2 in the early stages. The move to KMM level 3 made significant improvements in their throughput. Another case study that I like is Vistaprint. I talk about how we go outside of the IT space, and Vistaprint's an example where initially the software development teams had been doing some Scrum and Kanban work and been very successful, and then marketing was the bottleneck. So marketing had to move much faster to keep up, and the question is, could they do anything about that? And they were able to significantly reduce the lead time, the time it takes to overall, they said 83%, and in the cycle time was improvement. They cut it down by cut off 73% in their cycle time. So marketing was able to no longer be the huge bottleneck in the delivery, and so both the IT delivery and the marketing deliveries were significantly improved through Kanban. and it's then started to take those concepts and use it to spread it to be other teams in the agency in both the US and Europe. So Kanban works well outside of software, and they have an enterprise-wide transformation in Move. So growing the Kanban mindset, what are some of the opportunities we have? Within Kanban University, we look in terms of the certification approaches and models that we have. We have something, the Team Kanban Practitioner, which is a one-day class that really gets teams started. It helps deal with the sustainability agenda. It's a means by which to get a team started, or a means by which to get team members of a more mature implementation really understanding how to perform well within a Kanban environment. The next level up is our Kanban management professional, the Kanban systems design, which we call KMP1, and the Kanban management professional class, the KMP2. Those two are really focused on the service orientation agenda, how to really design your system, and then how to manage and improve that system. The Kanban coaching professional is a richer, that's really focused on the Kanban, applying the Kanban maturity model, so the details of the Kanban maturity model, and then also the coaching practices that are necessary for helping implement the maturity model. And then lastly, the accredited Kanban consultant is really someone who has really focused on trying to go back to first principles and develop and really be an expert at implementing Kanban. For that, in addition to the coursework, there's also a requirement for a case study and a panel review. So these are really the top-notch consultants in our industry. Thank you.
On behalf of SoftExpert, thank you for the presence of everyone who participated in this event. If you have any questions, please contact the presenter via email. To see other webinars, ebooks, and white papers on this subject, please visit our website at www.softexpert.com. Find out more about SoftExpert solutions for enterprise business processes improvement, automation, corporate governance, excellence, and compliance management. Thanks for listening. See you next time.